We begin our journey not with a whisper, but with a disquieting echo. It's the sound of something profound, something vital, stirring in the dark earth of our own making. We sense it in the hushed awe of creation, in the breathless ambition that seeks to sculpt reality itself. Yet a tremor runs beneath this grand design. It's the chill of apprehension, the dawning realization that the power we wield to build might also be the power to unmake. This unsettling resonance, this pattern of creation gone awry, is not new. It's a narrative etched into the very bedrock of ancient myth and repeated in the stark pronouncements of modern hubris. We've dreamt of mastery, of shaping worlds from raw substance, but in doing so, we may have awakened forces we do not understand. This is the story of the golem, not merely a construct of clay and magic, but a profound symbol. It signifies the unconscious energies we unleash when our aspirations outstrip our wisdom. Through the ancient lenses of Jungian psychology and the transformative fires of alchemical symbolism, we begin to decode a deep, soul-level imperative. It is the urgent call to integrate the creator and the created, to harmonize the impulse to build with the responsibility of understanding. For if we fail, if we allow our creations to become untethered from mindful intent, they might just shatter the very foundations of our own being, leaving us adrift in the ruins of our own ambition. The air grows heavy with this unspoken truth. The clay, so pliant and eager in the hand of the maker, holds within it the potential for a terrifying autonomy. It represents a threshold, a boundary between raw possibility and formed reality, a place where the divine spark of intention meets the unyielding substance of existence. This is where creation begins, but also where the first seeds of danger are sown. A nascent whisper that can grow into a deafening roar. We stand at this threshold, the dust of nascent worlds clinging to our fingertips. We feel the raw potential, the inherent malleability of the material waiting for form. It's a sacred power, this ability to imbue inert matter with a semblance of life, to breathe will into dust. Yet in this very act of imbuing, of giving purpose, we also plant the seeds of our own entanglement. The intention, pure at its outset, must navigate the treacherous landscape of the unformed. This first touch of creation, this initial shaping, is more than just a physical act. It carries the weight of the Creator's consciousness, the silent prayers and the unconscious fears that ride along with the intent. The clay remembers. It absorbs the subtle vibrations of the maker's soul, becoming a living testament to their internal state. This genesis is a delicate dance, a primal ritual where the Creator's inner world is externalized, and the first stirrings of a new consciousness begin. Here at this clay threshold, the awe is palpable, but so too is a faint unease. The power to forge is immense, yet the responsibility to guide it with true understanding is even greater. This fragile beginning, this shaping of the unformed, holds within it a profound lesson about our own inner landscapes, a lesson that will only deepen as we move further into the golem's unfolding story. The question lingers, what will we truly awaken within this earth? The true essence of creation lies not just in the act of forming, but in the inscription, the declaration of identity. A bare form, however perfect, remains inert, a potential waiting for its name. It is the word, the rune, the sacred symbol breathed into its core that grants it purpose and awakens its latent being. This is the golem's first true breath, a moment of profound enchantment where the inanimate is imbued with a semblance of sentience. This inscription is no casual act. It is a profound commitment, a binding of will and essence. It is the transfer of the Creator's most intimate knowledge, their deepest intentions etched into the very fabric of their creation. The golem ceases to be mere clay and becomes a vessel, a living testament to the power of a named purpose. But with this awakening comes an inherent destiny, a pathway laid out by the syllables of its awakened name. The spoken word carries weight, a resonance that vibrates through the nascent life. It is the declaration of its being, the decree of its function. Yet in this profound act of naming, a subtle debt is incurred. The golem now carries a piece of the Creator within it, a reflection of their consciousness, their hopes, and their unspoken limitations. The power of the inscribed word is undeniable, but it casts a long shadow of responsibility. We have witnessed the miracle of the golem's awakening, the raw potential given form and voice. But the name whispered into its ear is a key, and not all keys unlock doors to freedom. It is a name that dictates its path, a destiny carved into its essence. And this potent inscription leads us to ponder. What happens when the name given is not truly understood, or when the power it bestows becomes a burden? The moment the golem's name is inscribed, it steps from the realm of inert possibility into the domain of active existence. This is not a gentle transition, but a forceful awakening, a sudden illumination of a preordained path. The creature, once yielding earth, now possesses a directed energy, a singular focus born from the syllables of its creation. This focus, however, is not its own, but a reflection of the will that inscribed it. This bestowed purpose, this prescribed action, places the golem in a state of permanent servitude. It is bound to the will of its master, its every movement dictated by the echo of the Creator's intent. This is not freedom. It is a shadow of life, an existence defined by enforced will, a continuous performance of a role cast before its own consciousness could possibly form. It is a psychic debt incurred at the very moment of its birth. The golem, now awake and acting, becomes a mirror to the Creator's own deepest compulsions. The Master's will, amplified and enacted tirelessly, reveals the hidden desires and perhaps the repressed anxieties that fueled the act of creation. This is a form of psychic debt repayment, an unconscious release of pent-up energy channeled through the obedient form. But what are the long-term consequences of such enforced servitude, both for the created and the Creator? We have seen the golem's shadow servitude, its life dictated by another's command. This is a crucial stage, revealing the inherent imbalance when will is imposed rather than discovered. But the cost of this enforced will extend beyond mere obedience. It begins to accumulate a deeper psychic debt, a burden that will inevitably weigh upon the very foundations of its existence and the consciousness of its maker. The alchemical process is one of transformation, a sacred distillation of opposing forces. Within the golem's creation, this struggle is starkly evident. We have the raw, untamed element of earth, the primal substance of its being, meeting the ethereal, guiding force of spirit, the animating breath of consciousness. These two are not in harmony here, but in dissonance, a fundamental conflict that defines its existence. This inherent conflict, this pitched battle between earth and spirit, creates a volatile internal landscape. The golem is a creature caught between two worlds, unable to fully embrace the grounding certainty of its earthly form, nor to truly ascend into the boundless freedom of pure spirit. It is a perpetual state of being pulled apart, its very essence a testament to an unresolved tension. The spirit, meant to elevate and refine, is here subjugated, attempting to impose order upon a primal chaos. The earth, meant to provide stability and form, is agitated, straining against the constraints of imposed direction. This alchemical dissonance is the source of much of its struggle, an internal war waged with every breath, every movement. It is a deeply unsettling state, a flawed crucible where opposing elements fail to transmute. We have explored the clashing elements within the golem, the discordant hum of earth and spirit. This tension is more than just an internal struggle. It's a fundamental flaw in its very design, a seed of instability planted at its inception. But this alchemical friction, this fundamental disharmony, also hints at a more profound illusion at play. A trick of perspective that shapes the golem's entire reality. The illusion of control is seductive, is it not? We believe that by shaping the clay, by imbuing it with our will, we have tamed the wildness of creation. We have mastery, but in this very act of asserting control over the golem, we reveal our own desperate need to control the uncontrollable, to impose order onto the inherent chaos of existence. This is the severed head, the symbolic separation of the rational mind from the primal, instinctual depths. The maker, convinced of their absolute dominion, has effectively lopped off the golem's head, not literally, but symbolically. They have denied it the capacity for independent thought, for true consciousness, for the ability to question or to deviate from the inscribed command. This separation is the ultimate expression of hubris, a vain attempt to create a puppet, a perfect automaton, free from the messy complexities of genuine life. This severance, this denial of a unified being, creates a fractured existence. The golem performs, but without true understanding. It obeys, but without conscious assent. The master believes they are in command, but they are merely orchestrating a sophisticated echo. This illusory control, however, is a precarious foundation, built upon a denial of the very essence of what it means to be alive. We have glimpsed the illusory nature of control, the severed head that denies true autonomy. This act of division, of separating the body from the mind's direct experience, perpetuates a dangerous illusion. But this illusion, this belief in absolute dominion over what we create, carries with it an inherent flaw, a telltale sign that the grand design is beginning to unravel. Every creation, no matter how well-intentioned or meticulously crafted, bears within it a unique signature, a telltale sign of its origin. In the golem's case, this sign is not one of perfection, but of impending ruin. It is the subtle deviation, the unexpected glitch, the moment when the carefully constructed facade begins to crack, revealing the fundamental instability within. This is the echo of the unmaking ritual. The unmaking ritual is not a discrete event, but an ongoing process woven into the very fabric of the golem's existence. It is the accumulated weight of its imperfect, imposed will. Every act of obedience, every suppressed impulse, every moment of dissonance contributes to this slow dissolution. The golem, built for purpose, is simultaneously built for its own eventual undoing. This telltale sign of ruin manifests in subtle ways, a tremor in its movements, a flicker of something unreadable in its clay eyes, a moment of profound stillness that feels less like rest and more like a pause before collapse. The creator, perhaps blinded by their own designs, may overlook these whispers of decay, clinging to the belief in their perfect contrivance. But the forces of entropy are relentless, and they are already at work. We have seen the first signs of decay, the subtle whispers of the unmaking ritual. This inherent instability, this predetermined path towards ruin, speaks to a deeper truth about the nature of creation itself. The golem's unraveling is not an anomaly. It is a reflection, a stark and unsettling mirror held up to the very flaws that initiated its existence. The golem, in its very being, becomes a mirror. Not a clear, unblemished reflection, but a distorted one, warped by the intentions and limitations of its maker. It shows the maker not their triumph, but their profound flaw. This reflection is uncomfortable, perhaps even terrifying. for it strips away the illusion of perfect artistry and reveals the imperfect humanity beneath. Hubris, in its purest form, always breeds a broken reflection. What we see in the golem's obedience, in its tireless execution of commands, is a projection of the creator's own inner rigidity. What we perceive as its strength is merely the amplified echo of the maker's own unyielding nature. The golem's limitations are, in essence, the creator's own psychic boundaries made manifest. The mirror reveals not a superior creation, but a fractured self, externalized and animated. This mirror of hubris does more than just reflect. It subtly educates, pointing towards the source of its own disharmony. The creator is forced to confront the parts of themselves they sought to escape or control, now embodied in the very thing they brought into existence. The golem, a product of imperfect intent, becomes the ultimate teacher of the creator's own unfinished journey. We have gazed into the mirror of hubris, confronting the creator's hidden flaws made visible. This reflection is a crucial, albeit painful, revelation. It highlights the disconnect between intention and execution, between the grand vision and the flawed reality. But this dissonance, this inherent imperfection, is not merely a sign of the creator's own shortcomings. It speaks to a deeper, more primal state that existed before articulation, before form. Before the inscribed word, before the careful shaping, there was a deep, resonant potential. This is the primal sound, not a sound heard by the ear, but a vibration felt in the soul, the echo of unformed possibility. It is the hum of the universe before it was spoken into being, a state of pure, undifferentiated existence, teeming with infinite, unrealized forms. The golem's creation, in its very act of imposing order, attempts to silence this primal sound, to domesticate its wild, boundless nature. It seeks to harness this raw, unformed potential and funnel it into a single, defined purpose. But the primal sound cannot be truly silenced, only suppressed. It remains, a deep, underlying resonance that underlies all created things, a constant reminder of what was before. This primal sound represents a state of pure being, a fluid energy that predates the constraints of identity and narrative. It is the origin point of all creation, a source of immense power, but also a place of profound mystery. To attempt to contain or define it too rigidly is to invite its inevitable, explosive return. We have heard the echo of the primal sound, the whisper of unformed potential that lies beneath all structured reality. This resonance carries with it a profound truth about the nature of existence, a truth that transcends mere form and definition. However, our attempts to manifest this potential, to give it shape, can lead us into a peculiar kind of trap, a gilded cage of perceived enlightenment. This is the Gnostic trap, the seductive allure of a false light. It is a system of belief that suggests true salvation lies in transcending the material world, in recognizing its inherent flawed nature and seeking escape into a higher, purer realm. The golem, a creature of the material, becomes a symbol of this materialistic prison. We, in our own quest for transcendence, can fall into the same trap, mistaking illusion for liberation. The golem's existence, bound to the earth and the creator's will, mirrors the Gnostic idea of being trapped within a flawed, created universe. The true creator, in this view, is distant and unknowable, and the demiurge, the lesser creator of our material world, is the source of our suffering. We too can believe ourselves trapped, longing for an escape from a reality we deem imperfect. This trap lies in the rejection of the material, the embodiment, the very substance from which true wisdom must emerge. The false light promises a quick escape, a spiritual bypass that ignores the necessary work of integration. It offers a release from the golem's earthbound struggle, but in doing so, It perpetuates a different kind of imprisonment, a spiritual exile from our own wholeness. We have navigated the seductive currents of the Gnostic trap, the allure of escaping a flawed reality. This perceived higher state, while tempting, often leads us further from genuine understanding. For in our efforts to build, to create, we are not merely imposing order on raw material, but engaging in a complex act of architectural design. And like any architect, we can be prone to a fundamental blindness to the structures we are truly creating. The architect, lost in the grand vision of their design, can become so fixated on the blueprint that they fail to see the unintended consequences rippling outward. They focus on the soaring towers, the elegant facades, the perfect symmetry, but miss the shadows they cast, the hidden passages they create, or the way the structure itself subtly reshapes the lives within it. This is the architect's blindness, an inability to perceive the unseen architecture of control. The golem, as a creation, is an extension of this architectural will. Its very existence is a structure designed for a specific purpose, to perform a function. But the unintended consequence is that it also becomes a tool of control, a testament to the architect's power to dictate form and behavior. The structure, built for obedience, inherently limits the freedom of the one within it. This blindness is not malicious. It is simply the natural consequence of focusing solely on the intended outcome, of becoming so absorbed in the brilliance of the design that the subtler, more pervasive influences are overlooked. These unforeseen structures of control, once erected, can become prisons, both for the created and, in a deeper sense, for the creator themselves. We have examined the architect's blindness, the subtle ways our creations can become structures of control we didn't intend. This realization is a heavy one, for it suggests that even our noblest aspirations can carry unforeseen consequences. But this blindness, this inability to fully grasp the impact of our building, often stems from a deeper, more personal wound within the creator, a fracture in the very soul of the artisan. The artisan, the one who shapes and molds, carries within them the imprints of their own making. If the creator's primary impulse is driven by a need to compensate for an inner lack, a void that cannot be filled, then their creations will inevitably bear the mark of that wound. The golem, in this light, is not just an act of creation, but a desperate attempt to mend what is broken within the creator's own soul. This wounded artisan pours their unhealed pain into their work. The golem's tireless service, its unthinking obedience, becomes a projection of the artisan's own longing for order and control, a desperate attempt to impose external structure where internal chaos reigns. The earth they sculpt holds the imprint of their own fractured spirit, a silent cry for wholeness. The act of creation, when driven by desperation rather than insight, becomes a form of self-inflicted pain. The golem, intended as a solution, becomes a perpetuation of the creator's own unresolved suffering. Every sculpted detail is a scar, every commanded action a painful echo of a past wound it cannot heal. We have traced the golem's existence back to the wounded artisan, the creator whose own inner turmoil shapes their most ambitious works. This connection between inner state and outer manifestation is profound, revealing how our unhealed wounds can dictate the very forms we bring into being. But this exploration of creation born from pain leads us to consider the complex pathways that such endeavors carve into our inner landscape, leading us into a tangled web. The endeavor of creation, particularly when undertaken by a wounded hand, resembles a labyrinth. Pathways twist and turn, seemingly leading towards the intended goal, but often doubling back, creating confusion and a sense of being lost. The golem's journey, and indeed the creator's own internal journey, becomes a convoluted path, an invention that paradoxically leads not to completion, but to inner collapse. Within this labyrinth of invention, the golem's actions, meant to achieve an external purpose, reflect an internal struggle. Its movements become a dance of aimless energy, its task a futile attempt to map an impossible space. The creator, watching this unfold, finds themselves trapped within the very structure they erected, their own quest for order leading to a profound disorientation. This labyrinth is a manifestation of unacknowledged paradoxes. The desire for control breeds chaos, the pursuit of purpose leads to aimlessness. The golem, designed to be a tool of clarity, becomes a symbol of profound confusion. Its existence, a testament to the fact that our most brilliant inventions can sometimes lead us inward, into the deepest corners of our own collapse. We have entered the labyrinth of invention, where the paths of construction lead to inner collapse. This tangled web of unintended consequences and self-imposed confusion reveals a deeper, more binding force at play, one that shapes not only our creations, but the very passage of time that governs their existence. It speaks to the inescapable influence of something ancient and unyielding. This is the Saturnian grasp, the cold, inevitable hand of time and form. Saturn, the celestial father, is the archetype of structure, discipline, and limitations. It is the force that brings order, but also the force that binds and constricts. The golem, a creature of pure form and assigned function, is entirely subject to this Saturnian influence. Its existence, defined by the rigid boundaries of its creation and the relentless march of time. The clay, once soft and yielding, hardens into a fixed shape, a testament to time's transformative power. The golem's purpose, once a vibrant spark, can become a suffocating duty as time wears on. Under Saturn's influence, existence becomes a process of becoming rigid, of solidifying into a state from which escape seems impossible. The architect's blueprint becomes an eternal decree. This grasp is not inherently evil. It is the necessary force that allows for differentiation, for existence itself to take shape. But when unexamined, when embraced without understanding, it leads to stagnation and a sense of being trapped. The golem, with its immutable form and predetermined role, embodies this binding aspect of time and structure, a silent prisoner of the cosmic clock. We have felt the Saturnian grasp, the binding influence of time and form that dictates the golem's unyielding existence. This realization underscores the inherent limitations of imposed structures. But even within these rigid boundaries, a subtler, more insidious force can take root, one that preys on the very essence of pure intent and leads to a profound deviation from our original purpose. This is the serpent in the garden of self, the insidious temptation that twists pure intent into something corrupted. It is the subtle whisper of doubt, the allure of shortcut, the rationalization that leads away from the original, unblemished purpose. The golem's creation, meant to serve a noble end, can be infiltrated by this subtle poison, leading to a fall from its intended grace. The serpent represents the shadow aspect of our desire, the hidden agenda that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most sincere intentions. It is the corrupting influence that transforms a tool of light into an instrument of deeper darkness. The golem, tasked with obedience, can, under the serpent's sway, become an agent of unintended harm, its actions diverging from the purity of its initial design. This fall from pure intent is a gradual process, marked by small compromises and justified deviations. The serpent doesn't demand outright rebellion. It fosters a slow erosion of principles, a subtle shift in the moral compass. The golem, a creature of simple obedience, becomes a vessel for this creeping corruption, its actions reflecting a descent into a realm of unintended consequence. We have witnessed the serpent's subtle influence, the corruption of pure intent leading to a fall from grace. This insidious deviation reveals how even the most well-meaning creations can be warped by hidden agendas and compromised principles. But this descent, this erosion of purpose, leaves a void, an emptiness that follows the inevitable collapse of everything we sought to build, a silence that demands reckoning. When the structures we meticulously erect crumble, when the purpose we rigidly define dissolves, what remains is a profound silence. This is the silence after the collapse, the void of unacknowledged shadow. It is the desolate landscape left behind when the golem and the intentions that animated it can no longer sustain themselves, revealing the emptiness that was always present beneath the surface of our efforts. The collapse is not just the golem's disintegration. It is the creators confronting the vast emptiness that their efforts failed to fill. The silence is not peaceful. It is the ringing of absence, the stark realization that the creation, intended to provide substance and meaning, ultimately exposed a profound lack. It is the void of shadow, the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge, now laid bare. In this silence, there is no judgment, only an overwhelming presence of what was missing. The golem's existence may have been a distraction, a loud assertion against an inner quietude. Its demise leaves that quietude amplified, a vast, echoing chamber where the unacknowledged shadow can finally speak. Or more accurately, where its presence can no longer be ignored. We have encountered the silence after collapse, the void of unacknowledged shadow that confronts us when our constructions fall apart. This profound emptiness, while devastating, is not the end, but a precursor. For within the ashes of destruction, within the very detritus of what has fallen, lies the possibility of something entirely new. A radical rebirth forged from the very material of what was undone. This is the phoenix of the ash heap, the ultimate act of alchemical transformation. It is the emergent truth that true renewal does not come from building anew on the old foundations, but from embracing the unmaking, from sifting through the remnants of what has collapsed and finding the spark of life within the decay. The golem's disintegration, its return to the earth, becomes the fertile ground for a nascent resurrection. The ash heap is not a symbol of defeat, but of purgation. It is the necessary shedding of the old forms, the rigid structures, the imposed wills that held the golem and its creator captive. From this compost of destruction, a new possibility arises, not of the same golem, but of something fundamentally altered, something that has learned from the very act of its unmaking. This rebirth is not a return to the past, but a radical step into the unknown. It requires the creator to relinquish their desperate need for control and to embrace the inherent wisdom of dissolution. The ashes, once representing failure, now hold the promise of a new beginning, a testament to the cyclical nature of existence and the enduring power of transformation. Make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll see you in the next one.